I'd like to welcome Ms. Sarah Brightman to the Times Online. Sarah, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good, thank you so much for joining me and taking the time to chat to us today.
Thank you.
So, Sarah, you've just released your new album, Symphony. I'm looking at it right now. It's wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
I made it over a period of 5 years, and everybody said, God, why has it taken you so long to do a studio album? I think that I wanted to live a few years and see what music within that time I would want to interpret, whether my ideas would be different from the beginning of making the album to the end. And in fact, I found that my ideas originally for it changed completely within that 5 years, and actually made it a much, because of the time taken, it made it a much more sort of interesting piece. So I always advise artists, if they ever can, take their time. Well, I started out with the album with it wanting it to be a very utopian, golden, more classical piece. And in fact, as I went through, those 5 years, some more interesting things came into my life, just my personal life, for example. And I found that it actually influenced my choosing of music, writing new material, which was a little darker. It had darker text, it had a more edge to it. So I started going more into the sort of, I suppose, more gothic feeling within the music, probably a little more sort of evanescence-y kind of thing. It definitely has a feeling of dark and light, good and evil within it, and it's probably, I called it Symphony because, as you know, symphonies have different parts to them that make up the whole. This definitely sort of brings out all the different sides probably of the styles that I've ever worked on in my life, and that's, I'm trying to tell you in a nutshell.
I think you've summed it up quite nicely there. And you've worked with Andrea Bocelli again, with the likes of Andrea Bocelli and others on the album.
Yes.
What is it about working with Andrea specifically that you really enjoy?
Well, we don't work together very often because I think we felt after the song Time to Say Goodbye, it was a very difficult one to beat, so we had kind of done it and haven't really worked with each other since that time, which was 1997 or something. And then he actually asked a couple of years back if I would be interested in doing Canto della Terra, which was a piece that he had worked on originally, and I said yes, I think it's about time. It's a beautiful piece, and it's very fulfilling as a piece of music, and it seems that it would bring sort of out the ethereal side of my voice, as well as the sort of earthiness of his voice, in a good way. And so that's why I worked with him on this.
You've been quoted as saying you're approaching your music, or your approach to the music now is more visual than before. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, obviously, if you look at the album sleeve and the cover,
yes,
it's very artistic. Tell us a little bit more about this visual element that you are integrating.
Well, I wanted to portray why I chose some of the songs and interpreted and did interpretations of the songs that I did, and why the songs that we are new songs and wrote, why they are there in a visual way. And I suppose that was really what was in my soul at the time and what was in my mind whilst doing this. And when you look at the front of the cover, I actually worked with a lot of fantasy artists on this, and I explained to them the story and my feelings, and then they started to paint. And I think when you look at the front, it's actually of me running away from something that appears to be dark, something quite evil. I'm running out of this very sort of dark cathedral. It looks evil. And throughout the artwork, it sort of explains a story, a journey that this person or myself goes through.
You are in SA to promote the album. This isn't your first visit to South Africa. What do you love about the country?
From what I've seen of the country, it's the most beautiful country. It's rich, it's textured, and for all the things that have gone on here with history and everything, it's the most exciting place to be, and I really would advise anybody who hasn't been to come and visit. And I think really to sort of take it in, it would take a lifetime of visiting because there's so much to it.
It's something that I find quite interesting. Your one album that you worked on, I think it's called Harem. if I'm not mistaken. It's where you explored the Middle Eastern culture. You're in South Africa.
Yes.
Do you think perhaps you would explore the African culture or South African culture and maybe in a follow-up album or next album?
I'm very careful about pursuing a particular music areas superficially.
Okay.
So I think that if I was to sing an African song or use African musicianship, it would probably be only one piece that I would do so that I could do it properly.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sarah, and I wish you all the best of luck with the new album. I'd like you to come back to South Africa and perform. It would be great to see you here again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.